Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to our bedtime story. Tonight, we bring you a tale that will whisk you away to a world of valiant deeds and unexpected heroism. A tale that will warm your hearts, tickle your imaginations, and leave you brimming with the magic of storytelling. We step into a quaint, peaceful town that is about to witness the most extraordinary of tales. A tale of a humble tailor who, armed with nothing more than his needle, thread, and an indomitable spirit, embarks on a journey of courage and wit. This is the tale of the Brave Little Tailor, a story that begins in the heart of a picturesque town, in the confines of a tiny tailor shop, and with a jar of jam that unknowingly sets the wheels of destiny in motion. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the story. Allow the magic of our tale to unfurl, to whisk you away into a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where each stitch weaves a story, and where courage is found in the most unexpected of places. Welcome, dear viewers, to the tale of the Brave Little Tailor. A sleepy, picturesque town stirs from slumber as the day dawns bright and beautiful. The sun, an audacious orb of brilliance, bathes the cobblestone streets, quaint houses, and the animated marketplace in a warm, golden hue. Birds lend their melodious voices to the serene silence, their trills echoing through the tranquil air. As the town shakes off its nocturnal indifference, a petite tailor's shop tucked between two larger organizations springs to life. In its tiny confines, a diminutive tailor brimming with an indomitable spirit steel himself for another day of fashioning marvels from fabric and thread. His workbench, a riot of colors and textures, stands as his sanctuary amidst the sea of uncertainty. On this fateful morning, a jar of jam, procured recently from a local vendor, perches on his table. Its vibrant red contents dance in the morning light, whispering of sweet respite from the grueling day ahead. Tempted by the siren song, the tailor decides to indulge in a hearty breakfast, blissfully unaware that his actions are about to trigger a cascade of extraordinary events. This, dear viewers, is a tale of a courageous tailor, a plague of flies, and the astounding repercussions of a single, powerful stroke. But as the town folks' anticipation crescendos and the tailor unwittingly readies himself for the epic saga to come, let us first delve into how our unsuspecting protagonist found himself at the epicenter of this extraordinary maelstrom. One balmy summer morning, a little tailor was busied at his workbench, positioned conveniently near the window. He was happily stitching away in good spirits, his hands dancing over the fabric with practiced ease. A peasant woman hawking her homemade jam echoed down the street, "Good jam for sale, good jam for sale." The promise of sweet delicacies awakened the tailor's taste buds, prompting him to stick his dainty head out the window and holler, "Come up here, my dear woman, you can sell your goods here." The woman, burdened by her heavy basket, laboriously climbed 3 flights of stairs to the tailor's workshop where she was directed to unpack all of her jars. He inspected each of them meticulously, not unlike a connoisseur, picking them up and smelling the jam. After a careful examination, he concluded, "This jam looks good to me. Weigh out 4 ounces for me, even if it comes to a quarter pound." The woman, disappointed by the meager sale, grudgingly handed him the demanded amount and left, grumbling under her breath. "May God bless this jam to give me health and strength," mumbled the little tailor as he fetched a loaf of bread from his cupboard. He sliced himself a generous piece and lavishly spread it with the freshly bought jam. "That is not going to taste bad," he muttered with anticipation, "but I will finish the jacket before I bite into it." He set the bread aside, resuming his work, his stitches growing larger and larger in size due to his increasing joy. Simultaneously, the sweet, intoxicating aroma of the jam wafted up to the wall where a horde of flies had congregated. Drawn by the irresistible scent, they descended upon the bread in a swarm. "Hey, who invited you?" the tailor exclaimed, trying to shoo away uninvited guests. But the flies, clearly not understanding German, were obstinate, returning in even more significant numbers. Finally, the little tailor's patience wore thin. Infuriated, he reached for a piece of cloth, his eyes blazing. "Wait, now I'm going to give it to you!" he bellowed, lashing out at them ruthlessly. The tailor swiped left and right, displaying an unexpected agility and finesse, each swat resulting in a direct hit. When he finally ceased his attack, he found, to his astonishment, 7 flies lying lifeless before him. "Aren't you someone?" He marveled at his own prowess, somewhat taken aback by his unexpected valor. His victory sparked an idea and he immediately fetched a piece of fabric, cutting it into a makeshift banner. With neat, bold stitches he embroidered 7 with one blow onto it. The town? He pondered. No, the whole world shall hear about this. And with that, he, giddy with joy, crafted the banner into a belt, a symbol of his triumph over the flies. His heart leaped with pride, akin to the joyous bounce of a lamb's tail. The tailor, with nimble fingers and a determined spirit, skillfully wove a banner, displaying the words, 7 with 1 blow. He fastened it around his body, turning a simple piece of fabric into a belt of bravado and courage. He stood tall in his small workshop, his heart brimming with newfound valor. He felt a yearning for adventure, a desire to prove his mettle to the world, for he believed his humble workshop was too constrictive for such audacity. Before setting off, he scanned his humble dwelling, seeking something of value to accompany him on his journey, his eyes upon a piece of old cheese, slightly moldy but still edible. With a shrug, he slid it into his pocket, deciding that even the simplest nourishment could prove useful. As he stepped out of the town gate, his gaze caught a helpless bird, ensnared in a thorny bush. With tender care, he freed the bird, and it too found a place in his pocket alongside the cheese. With a spirit as light as the wind, he set forth, his agility and nimbleness making the journey less strenuous. The road guided him up a towering mountain, and at its peak sat a giant, his eyes surveying the around him with a contented air. The tailor greeted the giant with unfeigned cheerfulness, holding out an invitation to join on his quest, his courage unwavering even in the face of the giant's scorn. Effortlessly, the tailor unbuttoned his coat, revealing his self-made banner that signified his courage and quick wit. "You can read what kind of man I am," he stated confidently. The giant, upon reading the words 7 with 1 blow, interpreted it as the little man having killed 7 men, causing a flicker of respect to bloom in his heart for the seemingly insignificant fellow. The test of strength that followed only further showcased the tailor's quick thinking and undeniable courage. "The challenge is yours," the towering giant called out, his voice echoing through the forest, "if you possess the might." The small tailor met his gaze, a smirk pulling at his lips. "Is that it?" he retorted, his voice carrying an air of nonchalance. "It would be a child's playful pastime for an individual like myself." He dug into his pocket, his hand re-emerging clutching a piece of soft cheese. With an exaggerated display of strength, he crushed the cheese, the liquid squeezing out between his fingers. "Impressed, aren't we?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. The giant found himself at a loss for words, caught between disbelief and bewilderment. With a huff, the giant bent down to pick up a hefty stone, hurling it up into the sky. The stone soared, disappearing into the blue expanse. "Now, little man," the giant grumbled, "try to top that." The tailor merely nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "A commendable throw," he conceded, "but the stone did make its return to the earth. However, can throw something that won't come back." Reaching back into his pocket, the tailor pulled out a small bird. With a swift movement, he tossed it into the air. The bird, overjoyed at its newfound freedom, flapped its wings, soaring higher and higher until it was but a speck in the sky. The giant watched, his eyes wide with astonishment. The tailor turned back to him, his grin broad. "How about that, comrade?" he asked, his tone teasing. The giant grunted in response, clearly taken aback. "Your throw is fine," he said, attempting to maintain his composure. "But let's see how well you carry." He guided the tailor to a gigantic oak tree, its once proud form now fallen and lying on the ground. The bark was rough and coarsely textured, a stark contrast to the smooth green grass around it. "If you are as strong as you claim, help me haul this tree out of the woods," he instructed. The tailor agreed, a glint of mischief returning to his eyes. The giant, struggling under the weight, hoisted the trunk onto his shoulder. The tailor, however, cleverly positioned himself on one of the branches, making the unwitting giant haul not only the tree, but the tailor as well. As they moved, the tailor whistled a tune as though the act of moving a tree was as easy as a walk in the park. Upon reaching a cherry tree, laden with ripe, juicy fruits, the giant tried to test the tailor's strength once again. However, the little tailor used his wit to turn the situation around. Pretending to jump over the tree to avoid hunters, he made the giant attempt the same. The giant, however, ended up entangled in the branches, much to the tailor's amusement. The giant, having lost to the clever tailor in every challenge, invited him back to his dwelling, a spacious cave bustling with other giants. The cave was massive, the walls echoing the giant's boisterous laughter. A huge fire crackled in the center, around which the giant sat, each gnawing at a roasted sheep. The tailor looked around, comparing the spaciousness of the cave to his own tiny workshop. The giant showed the tailor a bed, enormous in size, and advised him to rest. However, the tailor, using his quick thinking, decided to sleep in a corner instead. This proved to be a wise decision as the giant attempted to kill him in sleep by smashing the bed. The next morning, the tailor surprised the giants by appearing hale and hearty, causing them to flee in terror. His cleverness and quick wit had won him the upper hand once again. As the diminutive tailor began his service under the king's orders, he continued on his path, always guided by his sharp instincts. After an extended period of walking, he found himself in the expansive courtyard of a grand royal palace. Overcome with fatigue from the journey, he nestled into the emerald grass and succumbed to sleep. His peaceful slumber amidst the bustling palace grounds drew the attention of many passers-by who curiously observed him from all angles. Displayed on his banner was the phrase, "7 with one blow." The sight of this provoked a murmur amongst the crowd. Why would such a celebrated warrior be lingering here in this tranquil palace during such peaceful times? He must surely be a man of great influence. The king was alerted of the tailor's presence, with the people advising that this seemingly powerful individual could prove to be an indispensable asset if war were to erupt. The king was intrigued by the thought of housing such a resourceful man under his own roof. To this end, he dispatched one of his trusted to approach the tailor upon his awakening, offering him a position within the king's own army. The courtier dutifully stood by the slumbering tailor, patiently waiting until he stretched his limbs and blinked open his eyes to deliver the king's proposition. "That is precisely why I'm here," replied the tailor. "I am prepared to serve under the king's command." Consequently, he was received with much esteem and provided with a private residence. However, his presence stirred unease among the royal soldiers who were perturbed by the reputation of this little tailor. They wished him as far away as possible, fearing the prospect of a disagreement with him. What would become of us if we ever offended him and he retaliated? 7 of us could fall with a single blow. We are no match for him. Thus, they collectively approached the king, requesting to be discharged from his service. It was not our destiny, they argued, to serve alongside a man who could eliminate 7 with a single strike. The king was disheartened at the prospect of losing his loyal knights due to this single, seemingly inconsequential man. He wished he had never come across him. The king was in a dilemma. He wished to dismiss the tailor, but was too frightened to do so, fearing he would turn against him and his kingdom and seize the throne for himself. He pondered long and hard, and at last a solution occurred to him. He dispatched a messenger to the tailor, praising his legendary war prowess and offering him a perilous mission. In a dense forest within the kingdom, 2 menacing giants wreaked havoc, engaging in theft, murder, and arson. They were feared by all, and none dared to approach them. If the tailor could defeat these 2 monstrous creatures, King promised to offer his only daughter's hand in marriage to him, along with half his kingdom as dowry. Additionally, 100 horsemen would accompany him for support. To this proposition, the tailor confidently replied, "Yes, I shall conquer the giants, but 100 horsemen are unnecessary. A man who can strike down 7 with a single blow need not fear mere 2. Thus, the little tailor embarked on his dangerous mission, followed by 100 horsemen. Upon reaching the forest's edge, he turned to them and said, "Wait here, I will handle the giants on my own." Venturing into the vast expanse of the woods, the small tailor looked towards the mystic left and the shadowy right, his eyes scanning every nook and cranny. Soon enough, he spotted the 2 behemoths, giants of ancient folklore, slumbering under a towering tree, their snores so loud that they made the robust branches sway in a rhythmic dance. The tailor, a figure of keen wit and agility, filled both his pockets with unyielding stones and nimbly climbed the tall tree. Perched midway amidst the verdant leaves, he carefully slid out on a sturdy branch until he was directly above the oblivious giants. With a sly smirk, he started dropping the stones one by one onto the chest of one giant. The giant, initially unfazed by the sudden hits, eventually stirred from his deep slumber. Confused and groggy, he accused his companion of disturbing his sleep. However, his protestations were dismissed as mere dreams by the other, and they slipped into slumber once more. The tailor, with his characteristic cunning, targeted the second giant, and the same scene of confusion and denial unfolded. The accusations flew back and forth until exhaustion took over and peace was restored, their deep snores echoing in the forest once more. But the tailor was far from done. Choosing his largest stone, he hurled it with all his might at the first giant, hitting him squarely in the chest. The giant, shocked and enraged, retaliated violently, their anger resulting in a fierce battle that ended in their mutual demise. The tailor, witnessing the spectacle from his perch, let out a sigh of relief. "It is fortunate," he said, "that they did not pull up the tree where I was sitting, or I would have had to jump into another one like a squirrel. But people like me are nimble." His exploits with the giants spread like wildfire, his fame echoing through the kingdom. The king, although impressed, harbored a growing sense of unease. Fearing the tailor's growing influence, he set a second challenge: to capture the destructive unicorn residing in the woods. The tailor, unfettered by this new task, ventured deep into the woods, his clever mind already devising a plan. He didn't have to wait long. The unicorn, a creature of pure strength and raw power, charged at him. Swiftly, he dodged behind a tree, causing the unicorn to get its horns stuck in the trunk. With a triumphant smile, he captured the beast, further escalating his fame within the kingdom. The king, witnessing the tailor's successful exploits, was growing increasingly nervous. His promise of rewarding the tailor with his daughter's hand and half his kingdom seemed closer to reality than ever before. With each triumph, the reputation of the brave little tailor continued to soar, and the king found himself unable to renounce his pledge. Despite his reluctance, the king acknowledged the tailor's successes. The tailor had managed to capture a destructive wild boar single-handedly, proving his wits yet again. The king, although grudgingly, had to fulfill his promise. Much to his discontent, he awarded the tailor half the kingdom along with his daughter's hand in marriage. Under the pretext of a grand ceremony, but with scarce joy, the tailor was wedded to the princess and was crowned as king. If only the king had known that it wasn't a war hero, but a humble tailor standing before him, his agony would have been even more profound. The tailor, however, modestly accepted his rewards. He was not daunted by the sudden elevation in his status. Instead, he decided to remain true to himself and continue his adventurous life. His wife soon found out about his humble background, but the tailor, clever as he was, managed to thwart the plans to send him away. His brave confession of all his previous mighty deeds scared away the king's men, and he remained a king for as long as he lived. And so the brave little tailor, with his wit and courage, lived a life of adventure and happiness, proving that even the smallest can overcome the biggest challenges. His story serves as a reminder that bravery comes in all shapes and sizes, and even the humblest of us can rise to greatness. And so, dear viewers, as we draw the curtains on our tale, let's take a moment to reflect upon the journey we've traversed together. From a summer's day with a jar of jam to the halls of a royal castle, we followed the footsteps of a humble tailor who dared to dream big and faced his challenges with courage and wit. He was no warrior with a shiny armor, no knight on a gallant steed, but a simple man with a needle and thread. Yet, he proved that bravery and cunning are not bound by appearances. He showed us that even the most ordinary amongst us could rise above the ordinary and achieve greatness. The brave little tailor's tale teaches us that courage and wit can overcome any obstacle, no matter how daunting they may seem. It reminds us that we don't need a sword to fight our battles. Sometimes all we need is a needle, a thread, and a heart full of courage. As we say goodnight, let's carry the lessons from this tale in our hearts. Let's always remember that it's not the size of the person in the fight, but the size of the fight in the person that truly matters. Good night, dear viewers. As you drift into your dreams, may they be filled with courage and wit just like our brave little tailor. Until our next tale, sweet dreams.